こんにちは。今日のスピーキングを始めます。Cat disease. Upper respiratory infections are exceedingly common, and the best known are pneumonitis and rhinotracheitis. Symptoms resemble those of the common cold in humans and distemper in dogs. The cat's colds, however, cannot be passed on to humans or dogs, although they are highly infectious for other cats. Rabies is an invariably fatal viral disease. It is transmitted by the bite of a rabid animal. Rabies has become established among the wild animals in many parts of the world. A cat that roams outdoors in an area where rabies occurs may be bitten by a rabid animal. It is therefore advisable that all cats in such areas be given preventive vaccinations. A cat that swallows large amounts of fur while grooming may develop fur balls or hair balls. Occasionally, this may cause ulcer or completely obstruct the digestive tract. Prevention in the form of frequent combing and brushing is best. If fur balls occur in spite of grooming, the animal may be given a teaspoonful of mineral oil in its food or a dab of petroleum jelly on its paws twice a week. Bite wounds may become infected and cause serious problems. Contrary to popular belief, the cat cannot heal the wound by licking it. It is better to seek veterinary attention as soon as possible. Many apparently normal cats have tiny mineral crystals in their urine, for reasons not yet fully understood. These crystals often clump together to form sand-like particles or small stones, which may cause irritation or obstruction of the urinary passages. A urinary obstruction is a grave emergency and must be treated immediately by a veterinarian. Evolution. New biological concepts and theory developed rapidly during the 18th and 19th century and challenged many old ideas. In 1859, Charles Darwin published his theory of evolution in a book entitled On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. The concept of natural selection and evolution revolutionized the 19th century, thinking about relationships between groups of plants and animals. His thoughtful presentation provided a sound biological explanation for the existence of multitudes of different organisms in the world and suggested that they might be related to one another. To support his ideas, Darwin used examples from geology, domestic animals, cultivated plants, and from his personal observations of the wealth of biological variability and similarity that can be found among living creatures. Although genetics and the mechanisms of inheritance were unknown during Darwin's time, he noted that certain life forms are most likely to survive than others. This concept of natural selection provided for the first time a universal explanation for the variations observed in nature. He made the powerful case that new species can be formed, and others become extinct by a gradual process of change and adaptation made possible by this natural variability. Darwin's ideas influenced the field of biology more than any other concept. Specifically human qualities. The first element which differentiates human from animal existence is a negative one, the relative absence in man of instinctive evolution in the process of adaptation to the surrounding world. The mode of adaptation of the animal to its world remains the same throughout. If its instinctive equipment is no longer fit to cope successfully with a changing environment, the species will become extinct. The animal can adapt itself to changing conditions by changing itself. In this fashion, it lives harmoniously, not in the sense of absence of struggle, but in the sense that its inherited equipment makes it a fixed and unchanging part of its world. It either fits in or dies out. The less complete and fixed the instinct equipment of animals, the more developed is the brain and therefore the ability to run. The emergence of man can be defined as occurring at a point in the process of adaptation, where instinctive adaptation has reached its minimum. But he emerges with new qualities, which differentiate him from the animal. His awareness of himself as a separate entity, his ability to remember the past, to visualize the future, and to denote objects, and acts by symbols and his reason to conceive and understand the world. Man is the most helpless of all animals, but this very biological weakness is the basis for his strength, the prime cause for the development of his specifically human qualities. Human aggression. To write about human aggression is a difficult task because the term is used in so many different senses. Aggression is one of those words which everyone knows, but which is nevertheless hard to define. One difficulty is that there is no clear dividing line between those forms of aggregation which we all deplore, and those which we must not disown if we are to survive. When a child rebels against authority, it is being aggressive, but it is also manifesting a drive toward independence, which is a necessary and valuable part of growing up. The desire for power has, in extreme form, disastrous aspects which we all acknowledge, but the drive to conquer difficulties or to gain mastery over the external world underlies the greatest of human achievements. The aggressive part of human nature is not only a necessary safeguard against savage attack, it is also the basis of intellectual achievement, of the attainment of independence, and even of the proper pride which enables a man to hold his head high amongst his fellows. Without the aggressive, active side of his nature, man would be even less able than he is to direct the course of his life or to influence the world around him. In fact, it is obvious that man could never have attained his present dominance, nor even have survived as a species, unless he possessed a large amount of inborn aggressiveness. Aquaculture. The growing of plants and animals on land for food and other products is agriculture. Raising animals and plants in the water is aquaculture. In animal aquaculture, much effort has gone into controlling the breeding process. Some fish, such as trout, are easily bred in captivity. Eggs are squeezed from the female and fertilized. Once hatched, immature fish are raised in tanks or ponds. Carp and catfish, which do not breed easily in captivity, are caught in the wild, while young and then light to maturity by aquaculturists. In Indonesia, for example, when the rice paddies are idle during the time between harvest and planting, farmers may buy young carp and fatten them in the paddies. Masses are raised in France by a process that involves hanging ropes over natural masses beds in the ocean. The immature masses, called sparks, float after hatching and after themselves to the ropes. The spark-covered ropes are next wound around large stakes in the sea. Similar methods are used to raise oysters in many parts of the world. Aquaculturists keep their animals captive by such means as ponds, tanks, and underwater enclosures. In some areas, fish are artificially bred, released into the wild, and then recaptured as adults. This is done in enclosed areas, such as the Caspian Sea, where sturgeon are raised for their flesh and their eggs. 終わり。